renting something. So it's not the same as, say, renting. If you are in a bank and you loan money, right? Your customers at the bank, they aren't buying anything from you, right? They are giving you money for a service so they can borrow something. If you work at a hotel, right? In a hotel, you don't sell the rooms, you rent them. People come to you, they give you money for the service and for, to borrow your rooms for the night. So again, we don't really have this idea of sales if you don't actually have a buyer. Okay? But even when you're selling a service, we have customers who want to buy something, so we can talk about sales, as long as there is buying and not something more temporary. But when we talk about marketing, what we're talking about here, a market is a place where you sell things. This is not about who, it's about where. It's a place. If we go back far enough, this comes from the word to walk. So the idea behind marketing is that you don't wait for people to come to you. You bring your service, your product to them. Marketing is about bringing what you offer out, right? You bring it to a market. Now, the goal is often to get buyers to come to you, but you still have to go out there and tell them what you have. So, marketing often involves advertising, because you're trying to get people's attention, right? But marketing will also have to do with customer research. You need to find out what people want. You need to find out if people want what you're selling. So, in some places, maybe the customers aren't interested in your product, and you have to educate them. You have to tell them why they should want your product. In other places, maybe there are too many people selling the same thing. So you need to explain why your product is better. There are a lot of different ways that we can advertise things, but marketing then will also look at where your product is not available. If you have one area where everybody sells the same thing, you should try to sell your product somewhere else where nobody is selling it. So marketing will also involve those ideas. We have what we call market research, which is basically that idea, looking for where stuff is needed as compared to where it's offered, right? Supply and demand. Are you guys familiar with those terms? For example, in Taiwan, there are too many universities, right? How do you say that? Colleges. 学院, right? There are too many schools. There are not enough students. So too much supply, not enough demand. So everybody who wants to market their school has to offer something special. Okay? So marketing and sales, if we look at where the ideas come from, they should be fairly different ideas. It doesn't mean that some companies won't put them together, right? If, for example, you have a restaurant, sales is kind of limited to, standing at the front and taking people's money and recording their orders. So if your boss wants you to also market, right, put the prices on the window, make a sign, put something on the internet, right, then maybe the two will go together. But usually in a bigger company, those will be kept separate because they need a different focus. So, but yeah, that's a good question. Whenever there's two ideas and you want to understand how they're different, you can always learn something from them. Okay, is there anything else in this field that we could look at? Marketing and sales, what else is there?
I think the main purpose of all of this is just money.
Mm-hmm.
It just use marketing. Marketing is the way how you can sell your products, and the sale I think is you just the two side you sell entirely.
Yeah, basically, this is how to have more sales. It's all about making money because it's all about selling things. So usually you don't sell something unless your goal is to make money. But there are places where the goal isn't quite just making money. In some places, like with universities, a university's goal should not be making money, right? The goal of a university should be helping students to learn. In Taiwan, how does it work? There was a time when universities would say to students, "You're not good enough. I don't want your money. Go somewhere else." There was a time when students had to have more than money to go to university. But today, university is really marketing and sales. I have money, I want to buy a degree, right? That's mostly how it works today. So that's a bit of a problem. Where do we not have a focus on money? What do you think? Are there places where people really don't care about the money? They offer something more important. How about a place like a library? Libraries are not in the business to sell things, right? So libraries shouldn't be focused on sales, but if nobody knows about the library, then you won't have anybody visiting. So a library might be a place where you have marketing, you try to let people know about the place, you try to let people know what you offer, right? If you have a problem, we have too many old books, then you want people to know so that they can come to the library and buy or take some of the old books. Again, it's not about making money, it's about making sure that the books can be used. We don't want to just burn the books, we want someone to read them, but we don't have enough room, so we want to get rid of them. That can also be marketing, but we're not interested in sales, right? What about places where marketing doesn't matter? We just want sales. Can you think of any examples? We don't worry about marketing, it's just sales.
It's just like when you take marketing, when you take time into the class or to the club, you recommend about yourself. This is the marketing. It's like every party. This is the way you take extension from all the money.
That's a lot of that advertising, yeah. Well, what about places, or what about things like, say, the train station, the train system in Taiwan? Do they need to market a lot? Like for high-speed rail, everybody knows about the high-speed rail, right? The tickets are still the same. Are there any changes? Do they have new products they want to market? Or is the high-speed rail just sales? Right? Okay, now you also talked about for yourself. If you are introducing yourself, this is true in any relationship. If you want to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or if you want to find a job, right? This is kind of important because you need the other person to buy you, right? Now, we're not talking about buying in an illegal way, right? What we're talking about is, say, an employer, somebody who has a company, saying that I want this kind of worker, not that kind, right? So then you have to show why your product, you, is better. But if you're selling yourself, you still then have to do some market research. A lot of people want to work for the airlines. I know it's really popular for, Eva Air. Every girl I know wants to work for the airplanes because, oh, it's romantic, you get a lot of money and you can travel around, right? But you need to be tall enough, right? And Eva Air is kind of sexist. The girls have to be pretty and all of that. But the question is, if there are thousands of people who are all fighting for one job, people aren't doing their market research, right? Because if everybody wants the same job, doesn't it make sense to try for a different job? So if you're applying for a job, you also have to think of the same things, right? And same thing if you're looking for a relationship, But you don't want to base your relationship with somebody on, market research. I want to find somebody who will stay with me for my whole life and who makes enough money and who can drive a car and who doesn't mind dogs. And, if you do that, then it's a little bit strange, right? But people do that anyways. Okay, so for these, any other questions or ideas? You see, we can take any question. 可以用很简单的问题可以讨论, right? So any question can turn into something that we can talk about and learn from. So, good question. Other questions? Oh, come on. You've got to have some questions. You can ask anything. Okay.
Years before we talk about introducing yourself and how you take attention by other it first time. How you introduce yourself.
Well, we could discuss that a bit, yeah. If we talk about introductions, right? Well, you all know this word, introduction? 有看过吗？有听过吗？ We use this word for a lot of things. So that's actually a really great word to start with. There are others, seduce, produce. I'm sure there's others, I can't remember them now. But, well, what do these words mean? Yes. Produce. You know this word, right? When you make something, if you have a factory or if you have a place where you make things, we talk about production. You produce things. If we have a movie, then we need someone to produce it. You have producers, right? Reduce. If this one pro means forward, we go forward. Reduce means back. So, if you have too much of something, if you make too much, like with garbage, right? We make too much garbage, so we need to reduce how much we make. We need to reduce how much water we use. Induce has the meaning of encouraging something. You have an effect in somebody. This in is actually just in. So this deuce has the meaning of to lead, okay? We see this in a lot of other places, but let's see. I don't know if you would know the word duke. A duke is like a king, but small.